it's Joel here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Achedaway Pro Percussive Massager. So, sometime last year I did a review on the original Achedaway, and I thought it was a great device, but to be honest with you guys, it was like the very first percussive massager that I owned. And after that review, I went on a tear just buying up all the percussive massagers that I could possibly find. I ended up with the G3 Pro from Theragun. I thought that that was the best one, but it was also the most expensive one. So I still thought the original Achedaway was very good for the money. It had some pretty good specs. I think it ended up with like a 50-pound stall force, and the original one I had was like a 30-pound or something like that. The amplitude of that was 11 millimeters. Once again, not the worst, but not the best. All of that you got for $200, which I thought was a really good value when compared to like the Hypervolt, which had pretty similar specs for $150 more. And then the Hypervolt Plus was a pretty good device once again, but it was much more expensive than that. It was like $500 or whatever, $450. And then even the normal Theragun G3 was still pretty expensive. And then on top of that, it was a very, very loud device. So all things considered, I still think the original Achedaway is a very, very good product. But now Achedaway has come out with their Pro model, which incorporates a lot of the higher end features for still a relatively budget price. So let's take a look at this. It does come with a carrying case, unlike some of the other brands out there. I don't know why that's not like a required thing for something like this, but I do think that pretty much all of these should include carrying cases. Inside the box, you have the new Achedaway Pro. It's got an aluminum body, and now it does have a removable 3200 milliamp hour battery, which should last for about 4 hours depending on how you use it. Just to give you a little walk around of the product, this part right here is the aluminum, and then the handle is made out of plastic. Of course, this is the front part where you're going to load in the tips. The back part is ventilated, and then it's got just this power button. It's got 5 speed settings. So now to turn it on, you're going to hold this power button and it's going to turn on. And then you have your battery indicators on one side, and then you have your power indicators on the other side. And you can cycle through them using the power button. You hold it to turn it off again. You charge it on the bottom of the device where the battery is. And so that's pretty much the main device there. You do get 4 different tips. You get the pointy tip, which is now made out of like, I don't know if this is plastic or metal, but it's like really glossy and shiny. That kind of drives me crazy. I'd rather it be matte. The flat tip it feels like glass, or not glass, it feels like metal now, which is a really high quality feeling, but once again, I wish that was like a matte kind of material. And then you get the little U-tip. This one is actually still matte. It pretty much is the same thing as the last one. And then you get a new ball attachment, and this one is a foam kind of material, and it's a shiny foam on top, so it kind of matches the other ones, but it is a little bit soft to the touch. Now this one is a little bit softer than the original ball attachment, and I kind of wish that they went with the normal ball attachment here, because this is a little bit too soft. And then I kind of interchange between the flat one and the ball attachment, and sometimes the flat one's a little bit too hard, and then the ball attachment is a little bit too soft. I wish there was something right in the middle. Like, these are my 2 favorite attachments. I'm usually using the ball attachment for like forearms, lats, some of the more sensitive areas, and then for the bigger areas like my glutes, my hamstrings, my quads, I'm going to be using the flat attachment. And then I'll use the little poker attachment when I really want to get into like my forearms or my calves. So what you're going to do here is you're going to load up that attachment to the front. You're going to turn on the Achedaway, hold it, it's going to power on. It's got a little kind of acceleration animation to start, and then from there you can go ahead and go into it. So if you couldn't already tell, the Achedaway Pro is very, very quiet. This is it on its loudest setting, and you can pretty easily hear me talk. You can have a conversation while using this, no problem, unlike the Theragun, which is very, very loud and you cannot talk over. And now to talk about the specs of the Achedaway Pro. It does have a 16 millimeter amplitude, so that matches up to the Theragun G3 Pro. That's the furthest that any of these extends out, at least to my knowledge. And you can really tell the difference between something that's like 10 millimeters and something that's 16 millimeters. 13 to 16, not so much, but around 11 to 10 to 16, you can definitely tell the difference. This also does have an 80-pound stall force, which I think is a little bit overrated because I can get this thing to stop pretty easily. I'm not gonna actually do it with this tip here. I'm gonna change that so I can show you guys. But I feel like it's a little bit closer to like 60 pounds. But also keep in mind that with the further amplitude or the greater amplitude, the machine will be a little bit easier to stop. Plus, right now mine's not fully charged, but you know, I can pretty easily stop it. But I am running on pretty much the end of this battery. So the battery usage or battery life depends on how you use this. So if you're pressing down really, really hard with your device, the battery is going to drain much, much faster. It should have an estimated of 4 hours, but like I said, it just kind of depends on how you use it. In my experience, I found that to be pretty accurate. I go pretty hard on myself, and I go on like the third to last setting when I use this thing. So your mileage may vary when using the Achedaway Pro. The battery charger is a pretty simple battery charger, nothing to it, but I actually like these ones in comparison to like the Theragun and the Hypervolt that have really like big battery chargers, bulky battery chargers. I like the more simple ones just because it's a little bit, it takes up less space when I'm charging. So with the Achedaway Pro, it does have a kind of like angled handle, so that makes it a little bit easier to get to your back. But I felt like it was a little awkward to get to my lower back just because of the way that the angle works. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not as ergonomic as the Theragun G3 Pro with the triangle handle. I think that that is probably the best in the business, but definitely an upgrade over the normal straight handle of the original Achedaway. The frequency settings I do not have memorized, so I'm just going to read them off to you. Level 1 is 1700 BPM, and that's 28 hertz. Level 2 is 2000 BPM, and that's 33 hertz. Level 3 is 2300 BPM, and that's 38 hertz. Level 4 is 2600 BPM, and that's 43 hertz. Level 5 finally caps out at 2800 BPM, and that's at 47 hertz. So, 2 more settings than your Hypervolt, 3 more settings than your Theragun. I don't really think you need all that many settings, but I think 5 is a good like middle ground of what you need and what you don't need. I think that this device is probably the best bang for your buck percussive massager. I think that is like hands down. This is the best bang for your buck percussive massager. It pairs pretty much everything you need in a percussive massager. It has that 16 millimeter amplitude. It's quiet. It's pretty damn strong. I think pretty much anybody that uses this is going to be okay with how strong it is. And like I said, I can stop it, but you have to be willing to want to go that hard on yourself to stop it, to actually stop. You actually have to really, really try. And all of that you get for $300 shipped. $300 shipped for this device, which is a killer value. And if you use my code JOLTE25, you get another $25 off, so $275, which makes this the best bang for your buck percussive massager. I use it pretty much every day. I think that everybody should have something like this. I use it more than a foam roller. I use it more than the crossballs because I can target where I want the percussive massager. It's a little bit more convenient than to be just like rolling around on a foam roller. So I highly recommend that everybody has one. Not totally necessary, but something that's pretty nice to have, especially when you're really, really sore. So if you guys have any questions about the Achedaway Pro, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Okay, so if this angle looks a little different, it's because I forgot to mention one thing that kind of bothers me about the Achedaway Pro, and that is the lack of a dedicated on-off switch or power button or off setting. So the Achedaway Pro, you turn it on, you hold the button here, and it turns it on, and then you've got your 5 power settings that you cycle through, and then after that, there's no like off cycle. And then there's no on-off switch, so that you can easily just kind of turn this thing on and off. So if you want to change your tip, you have to hold the button and then change your tip and then do it again. It's just a little bit easier if you had an on-off button like the Hypervolts, and even the old Achedaway, you could just turn off, or you just had like an off setting that you can just cycle through so that you can change your tip without having to completely turn the whole device off. Just a little thing, but I think if they were to add something like that, like an on-off button or or off setting, then it would make this thing just a little bit more easier to use. I mean, it's already pretty easy to use, but that's just the one gripe that I have for the actual like use or operation of the Achedaway Pro.